Hi, welcome back to the Rev War Room, and I have a special guest today. She's been special to me for years, but Nancy Elliott is with me. I was so excited for Nancy to come in and join us. Seeing some of her news over the weekend of her genealogy research, I was like, oh, I've got to get Nancy in the Rev War Room, because I was certain, without a doubt, that she had seen some of these videos, and that was the reason she was doing her genealogy research. Well, not. So Nancy's here to share with us a little bit about what she has found out and why she started doing her genealogy research, which is really exciting. Then we'll be able to give her some tips that maybe will help push her along a little bit. All right, so Nancy, it wasn't me.
No, I have been for several years. Ed and I both had our DNA done through Ancestry. And we had that, and I joined Ancestry and decided I would start my tree. I did, and I was so hesitant because I didn't have a lot of names. But it's amazing how whenever you start working with it, little things pop up that you see that you think, oh, I didn't know that. And so I didn't know where to start, whether to do on Ed's side or my side. So I started on, and I had been told through the years that my grandmother had part Indian in her, and I thought, I will go that direction. Even spoke with Roger Painter, because he has Indian,
got Indian
and trying to figure out when I get to that point, where do we go from there?
Right.
So I did start with my father and went on to my grandmother, who was, I've been told, part Indian. So I started going into my ancestry and going per person, father, then mother, or that type of thing. And it kept growing and growing. And when I got to a certain point, I went, oh my, I never dreamed I was connected to John Knuckles.
That's awesome.
Way.
Lacey and I try so hard to be connected to the Knuckles family because their history here is just unbelievable.
And for the last week, I have been trying to go backwards to make sure all the brothers and sisters were the same. I didn't want to be not connected after I found out that I was, and thinking just one person could make the whole thing
fall apart. Yeah, right.
So I've actually gone forward and backwards several times just to make sure. And as I told you a little earlier, I've always been intrigued with Whig Hill for some reason.
Right.
And even in my teenage years, I have been down to Whig Hill on occasion when it was dark and it was spooky.
Right.
And I even, when I taught GAs one time, my teenage GA girls at church had heard about Whig Hill. I said, let's go.
Oh.
And I had gotten a brand new car. And here we go down the Union Highway, get off that little road, and go through that tiny little road, and it got smaller and smaller and smaller, and thorny things, and I thought, oh, it will kill me. So afterwards, we only went to a certain point, stopped, and walked the rest of the way, and they were just, and I didn't recall at that time that it had been so badly destroyed. I know on certain occasions, as I have joined the archives of the ledger, so I could go digging through that some, which I have, and found out several occasions where they had trespassers down there, and way back in the 60s, I know for sure. But anyway, I was just delighted that I found out that I was kin.
The Knuckles family moved here in 1767. You probably know that from some of your research. Spent a little bit of time on top of Kings Mountain while John was looking for
a place
surveying out his land. And Agatha actually gave birth to Susanna up on the mountain.
Did not realize that.
So she was born up on the mountain in December. But there's also a book that was written, and this is why we're looking for family stories. We can do research and search papers. There are so many family stories.
Yes.
There's a book called The White Rose that was written by one of the descendants.
I've stumbled across that.
Have you? Have you stumbled across the book, or just the fact that one was written?
Yeah, about and the history of the rose and why it came from where it came from. Yeah.
So The White Rose, it has a story all within itself. Miss Woody wrote the Knuckles history. She has since passed away. but she only wrote a limited number of those books. And she didn't sell them, she just gave them to family members. So they are if you find one, you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
So absolutely
amazing.
Have one?
You don't have a copy?
I have a borrowed copy right now.
Right.
I also have white roses planted in my yard. So the Knuckles plantation, the last of the white rose had died out there.
Right.
I was talking to Linda Ramage, lives there.
Does she have some?
Well, it had died. So I talked to her last year and it had died. So I actually ordered white roses from York to get here because I would love to see those in Carolina Rising on the property there. And so I reached out, ordered them, and surprised her with one. And I've got some planted in my front yard, and they're doing good. They're blooming, and I do not have green thumbs, so that's great. But the family stories that we are looking for, and I was expecting you to come in and go Herrin, because I keep running across Herrins in some of my research.
There's different spellings, H-A-R,
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
there's different spellings.
I have since found that out.
And you have to be creative with how you think, because phonics had a different meaning back then, because if you were German, your phonics were different if you were Scottish, you know, and if you were Irish, and if you were England. So, and they spelled the way they spoke, and many times.
In one of the in fact, I saw this last night, and I thought, I believe with all my heart it's Davis. But anyway, in my tree, one of the relatives, ancestors, there was a newspaper article, and it referred to them as David. And I know better that it's Davis instead of David. And I thought, I went back and reread it, and went back in my tree and went back through there. And but I was tickled.
So
I can't believe that.
We're super excited. And so this inspired Nancy to do something else. She's not just now a genealogist. She is an artist. And so CAVA, who shares space here in the Gaffney Visitors Center, they are the art gallery of the Gaffney Visitors Center and Art Gallery. The show that's coming up that opens on September the 9th is celebrating the rich history of Cherokee County as interpreted by CAVA members from the Revolutionary War to present day. And so Nancy, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your art that's going to be in the gallery here. And I know it's special to you now.
It is, and never would I have ever painted a picture of Whig Hill. But I started researching and got more into Whig Hill, and been researching on newspaper.com, trying to find photos of anything, early photos, pictures, and I have since found some that when they went down there, and some had been destroyed, some of the graves had been destroyed. But I was taken by Roger Painter's black and white photo that he did of Whig Hill, and I contacted him and got permission to be able to paint. And of course, this is not exactly like his photo, but it gave me something to go on. And I thought, oh man, I remembered the time I'd go down there as a teen at night, and it'd be dark and spooky. And I thought, what better way to represent it as midnight at Whig Hill? So,
and I've heard so many stories of people that have gone after dark or at midnight to the cemetery at Whig Hill.
It was a very spooky place. You know, you go down through all the woods, and then all of a sudden there was a clearing there, and that's where the cemetery was. So I haven't been down there since I was a teen. That's been many years ago, and I plan in the near future
have to get you back down there,
to get down there to visit, just to see. But I am intrigued, and maybe you know, I'm trying to find out who is buried in the domed tomb.
Did you see Linda Harris's comment to your post about that? Okay. We need to go back and read it, because she's commented some stuff back about who the domed or concreted, I don't know, what do you call those?
It's made out of brick.
It looks like a cement casket.
There was a article that I found on the Gaffney Ledger that someone described it, and I thought, they're going to give a name. they described it was brick and the way it was made.
They described it and didn't give a name.
Never gave a name.
Brian Cudd. Brian Cudd, can you help us out?
I tagged Brian.
Okay.
He is a classmate of mine. And I said, this was before I went and joined. He was the one that suggested go to the newspapers.com.
Right.
And I joined that one. And I thought, I said, Brian, if you just happen to see any photos of Whig Hill, please send them my way. So, but anyway, I just finished it. And now that we were talking about the white rose. Oh man, I should have put a little white rose in the corner somewhere.
I feel another painting coming on.
But again, I never did I ever dream. I was searching for an Indian, a native Indian somewhere. Even figured I'd have to go into Cherokee to find into there. Never did I ever think that it.
So now we'll have to get you into the Daughters of American Revolution. We'll have to get you into the DAR, introduce you to some of your other relatives that are descendants of John Knuckles.
Well, John Knuckles is, as from Ancestry says, that he is my fifth great grandfather.
That's awesome. So my sixth great grandfather and your fifth great grandfather witnessed some deeds together around here. So that's pretty interesting.
Oh, okay.
Lots and lots of family history. All right, so some things that you definitely need to know. First off, CAVA's exhibit opens September the 9th. That is here at the Gaffney Visitors Center, 210 West Frederick Street in Gaffney, South Carolina. Beautiful historic building. Lots of great artwork coming in. The reception, if you want to actually meet the artist, is Thursday, September the 12th. And so we'll be here and we'll have the patio open now. It's got a little bit of furniture on it, so it's going to be super, super nice. Looking for your family history. Even if you don't know, like Nancy didn't know, and she just started searching and all of a sudden she did. That's kind of the same thing that happened with me. My grandmother told me that her family was from here when I moved here 35 years ago, and I started researching and all of a sudden had American Revolutionary ancestors.
Who would have thought?
And so it's amazing. So that could be your story too. And the easiest way to make sure those branches are branching off into the right direction is to go to the Cherokee County Library or to the Cherokee County History Museum, or Cherokee County Museum, sorry. Linda at the museum and Miss Jackie at the library are genealogists that are amazing. Our genealogy rooms are free. They will help you find your story. And who knows, maybe you'll become an artist, and no telling what kind of good stories we'll find. Let's see what other families we're looking for this week.
In Carolina's fields where brothers clashed, neighbor against neighbor, freedom flashed. From King George's grip, they dared to break, in the backcountry's heart for liberty's sake. Cowpens and Kings Mountain, they did stand, brave patriots united across the land. In Carolina's struggle, the spirit unfurled, with each battle cry, they reshaped the world.
Okay, so just like with the Knuckles family where we're looking for those personal stories, there's a few families that I know lived here, but I can't, I start digging and it's like I'm running into bedrock. I need to dig deeper. So if you know anyone with the names of Tate, William Tate, Tate's Ferry, Tate's Crossing, Tate's Mill, and then what about the Gilkeys? I have been looking for the Gilkeys for quite a while. I know that there were Gilkeys on both sides. The other one would be the McCown's Mill. And McCown's, I think, also had people that were loyalists and people that were patriots. So we're looking for those family stories and just start digging. You'll be like Nancy. You'll end up with these great stories, and we hope that we're able to use your story in Carolina Rising.